Welcome to Sports Talk.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Nick.
And I'm Jackson.
From Top Notch Sports. Today, we're going to go over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers off-season salary review. Look at Bruce right here getting splashed with the Gator. Well-deserved victory for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning the Super Bowl. And you see Vita Vea here, absolute stud defensive lineman. This whole video is going to be dedicated to what we feel like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to do this offseason during free agency, the draft, et cetera, and see what moves they're going to make. So let's hop right in where Jackson will explain the first slide. Go ahead.
All right, what's going on, everyone? This team's got $27.8 million in the cap. You can definitely get a lot done with that. Remember, these are the players currently under contract for 2021. So when we go down to our notable losses screen, you'll see who this team is losing due to free agency. Green is you cut and you save. Red is you cut and you lose. This team's coming off a well-deserved Super Bowl victory. Bruce Arians, I've been saying it. The next guy after Andy Reid was probably Bruce. Let's go over to the offensive side of the football real quick. Looking at this offensive line, the first, name I kind of see, kind of a question mark, is Donovan Smith. He's taking up $14.3 million. If you were to cut him, that's a lot of cap. You get a lot of moves done with that. So that's kind of a question mark. Maybe, when we go down next couple slides, you see what we do there. Ali Marpet, solid guard. Ryan Jensen, again, solid center. This is a solid offensive line all around. Tristan Wirfs was a stud, probably one of the best offensive linemen in the draft this year. Other than Mike Evans right here, this receiving core now, a little questionable. Tyler Johnson was a rookie. Scotty Miller had a pretty solid year. Part of that maybe due to Tom Brady coming in. Ronald Jones had a couple big runs this year. So that's the offensive side. Very solid offense. Cameron Brate, again, solid tight end to, back up Rob Gronkowski. Go over to the defensive side of the ball. Very, very solid, front seven. You are losing some pieces when we go down to notable losses side. You will see Antoine Winfield, absolute unit, absolute, just absolute beast you guys got this year in the draft. Very, very solid. Sean Murphy-Bunn, again, very, very solid year alongside Carlton Davis. You got a young secondary, which could be very, very good for a long time. I like this Bucs team. Again, they are losing some pieces, but they definitely have the cap to bring them back.
Absolutely. Again, you see $27.8 million, like Jackson pointed out before. This is a pretty solid offense, but again, there is a few question marks. I mean, do you want to save Donovan Smith for $14.3 million? Do you want to keep Ryan Jensen for $10 million? I mean, these are questions you seriously got to ask. I got to say, Tristan Wirfs did exceed my expectations when I scouted him last year. Wasn't a huge fan of him. He absolutely exceeded all expectations. And if you can get somebody like Tristan Wirfs again, that was just an incredible draft pick. You look at the defensive side of the ball, still solid, but again, losing a lot of pieces due to free agency. So on the next slide, we'll see who your notable losses are. Jackson, go ahead.
All right, first things first, you lose an edge, Shaq Barrett. His expected deal is 4 years, $76 million, played 77.3% of snaps. You're losing phenomenal linebacker in Levante David. His expected deal is 3 years, $40 million, played 99.3% of snaps. You're losing Rob Gronkowski, tight end. His expected deal is 1 year, $4 million, played 75.3% of snaps. You're losing Ndamukong Suh. His expected deal is 1 year, $7 million, played 73.9% of snaps. There's in defensive tackle, Raheem Nunez-Roches. Expected deal is 2 years, $8 million, played 45.3% of snaps. Losing Chris Godwin. His expected deal is a big one in 5 years, $110 million, played 62.8% of the snaps. Losing wide receiver Antonio Brown, 1 year, 4.5 is the expected deal, played 30.1% of snaps, And you're losing your kicker and Ryan Suckup. His expected deal is 2 years, $3.4 million. He played 19.4 of the snaps this season.
Yeah, so again, when you look down the line, you typically want to bring back the guys that play a higher percent of the snaps because these are the guys that are familiar with the system. They're familiar faces. They have good chemistry. You want to keep continuity going. So again, you want to bring back the guys that play a high percent of the snaps. And on the next slide, we'll show you who we think that you guys bring back. So here you go, you guys got the $27.8 million in cap space, estimated cuts. We're going to try to have a big free agency for you guys. So therefore, you're going to have to make cuts. We're going to cut Donovan Smith, William Golston, and O.J. Howard. That would save you guys a lot of money, which would free up $53.6 million in estimated cap space available. The only question we want to ask you guys, you, the fans of Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the question is, Ryan Jensen. You would save $10 million. This would free up enough money to bring back somebody that I'll mention in a few minutes from now. So here you go. That's what you get. You have the $53.6 million in estimated cap space available. Estimated signings. This allows you to re-sign Levante David to a 3-year, $40 million deal. Re-sign Shaq Barrett to a 4-year, $76 million deal. Re-sign Ndamukong Suh to a 1-year, $7 million deal. Re-sign Rob Gronkowski to a 1-year, $4 million deal. Re-sign Antonio Brown to a 1-year, $4.5 million deal, and re-sign Ryan Suckup to a 2-year, $3.4 million deal. Guys, this would really be an amazing offseason. You guys would be able to bring back, the total cost of this would be $49.5 million in total, which would mean that you guys have a remaining of $4.1 million in cap space. Who are you guys losing? Well, in this scenario, you guys would be losing Chris Godwin. The way that you can bring back Chris Godwin would be is you guys cut Ryan Jensen and a few other pieces, maybe a Cameron Brate, maybe a few depth pieces down the road. You guys to bring back Chris Godwin for the future if you were to cut Ryan Jensen and a few other pieces. Let me know what you guys think about that. But in this mock draft, in this mock free agency, this mock offseason, we do not have you guys bringing back Chris Godwin. It's just too much cutting and too much moving pieces. So team needs, what do we need? We need a wide receiver, a tight end, a left tackle, defensive tackle, 3-4 DN, edge, inside linebacker, cornerback, and a safety. Well, let's look what we did. Wide receiver, we're re-signing Antonio Brown. Tight end, we're re-signing Rob Gronkowski. Defensive tackle, we're re-signing Ndamukong Suh. Edge, we're re-signing Shaq Barrett. And inside linebacker, we're re-signing Levante David. We're going to draft Tylan Wallace in the second round. And our first round pick, we're going to draft Alex Leatherwood, the left tackle. Look, if you guys do all these moves, if this is your first and second round mock draft, plus your mock free agency and mock offseason, the only guy that you're really truly losing here, in my opinion, would be Donovan Smith, that you're replacing with Alex Leatherwood. And Donovan Smith had a shaky season this year, had a bunch of penalties, had a few sacks allowed this season. So it's a question mark there. And for $14.3 million, this allows you to literally bring back someone like Levante David. To me, it's worth bringing back Levante David for Donovan Smith. And if you guys crack someone like you did with Tristan Wirfs and Alex Leatherwood, that would be an absolutely steal in the first round for you guys, just like you guys got Tristan Wirfs this last year, who was an absolute study, panned out for you guys. And I feel like personally, any lineman that has been in the past that blocked for Tom Brady for some reason just blocks better. I think it's a weight that's on their chest. Maybe Alex Leatherwood could step in like Tristan Wirfs did this year and block the same way. Again, this would be a really successful offseason, in my opinion. What are you guys really losing from the Super Bowl? Really, in my opinion, nothing at all. You're filling in all your needs in the draft, and you're re-signing all the key players that won you guys this Super Bowl. Let's go to the next slide where Jackson will break down the 2021 expected starters. Go ahead.
All right, this is your 2021 expected starters. You got $4.1 million rolling over into the next season. We'll take a look at the defensive side of the ball real quick. All these guys in orange are the guys you just re-signed. I just want to point out, this is a phenomenal front seven. I mean, you got Shaq Barrett and Jason. The only question mark is Khalil Davis. I mean, if you really think about it, Shaq Barrett's coming off that edge. Khalil Davis more of a depth guy. And you got JPP, Ndamukong Suh. You got arguably one of the best linebackers in football, Levante David. One of the best young linebackers in Devon. I mean, phenomenal front seven. You got a very, very young secondary, which is still developing. Sean Murphy-Bunting, Carlton Davis, Antoine Winfield. Very, very young secondary. Go over to the offensive side of the ball. We'll take a look at the offensive line. You cut Donovan Smith. You bring in Alex Leatherwood in the first round, your first round pick. Again, like Nick said, if he pans out anywhere near what Tristan Wirfs was, I mean, that's an absolute steal of a pick. You know, maybe it's just a Tom Brady effect. You're guarding the GOAT, so you got to protect him. You got a chip on your shoulder. Bring in Rob Gronkowski, Tom Brady's best friend. That's a great signing for a cheap deal, $4 million. Antonio Brown, when he came over when he signed with the Bucs, I mean, he did a very, very solid job. You bring in Tylan Wallace in the second round from Oklahoma State. In the little film me and Nick watched, this kid has got a lot of potential to be a very, very solid receiver for this Bucs team. You still got Mike Evans. I mean, Ronald Jones ain't a bad back. You look at these reserves, you still want to draft a 3-4 DN. That's Khalil Davis. Maybe a center, Ryan Jensen. This is last year of his deal coming up, so maybe you want to get his replacement. Maybe you want to get a cornerback and a safety for depth purposes. I mean, it's a young secondary, so maybe you want to, get some depth there in case some people don't pan out. This is a very, very solid team. It's the same Super Bowl team that we just saw. That's better. All right, you got an Alex Leatherwood. Again, he's got a lot of potential. Tylan Wallace, again, solid. I mean, this team is very, very young, but just they got veterans. They're young. They got the GOAT. I mean, what else did you want? This Bucs team, I mean, they can get back to the Super Bowl, and I think there's a very good chance they can, and they will with Tom Brady under center for you guys. So a lot of hope for this Bucs team and Bruce Arians. Nick, over to you.
And again, I mean, like we said, Tylan Wallace, you just got to get this guy the ball any way you can. Again, you're going to draft a 3-4 DN, a center, a cornerback, a safety, and plug him in almost immediately if you want to. Again, Ryan Jensen's a big question mark here, taking up $10 million in cap. Didn't really have a great season this year. But again, let's see what you guys can do. I'm a really big fan of this secondary too. Young guys, but I've been pointing out this secondary, in my opinion, are studs. Devin White, like Jackson said, is an absolute stud, and Vita Vea as well. Again, I think that this team can absolutely make another push back to the Super Bowl. You're really not losing much this upcoming season. Guys, that's all from us from Top Notch Sports. I'm Nick.
I'm Jackson.
We'll see you guys soon. Peace. We are
Built better.
See you guys soon. Peace.